Howdy, y'all. This is going to be a VR for the East Texas Pipe Club. So, he managed to hit 10,000, and he has a few questions. The first one is, what pet tobacco originally made you fall in love with pipe smoking? Now, this is a bit of a double edge. So, the first time I smoked a pipe, we're talking going on 15, 16 years ago now. So, I tried all the pouch stuff that you get. Borkum Riff, Captain Black. Let's see, half and half, that kind of stuff. Whatever I could get local. Some local house stuff. And out of all those that I tried, the only one that was halfway decent was the Captain Black. And at that point in time, I smoked hot. Really, really hot. And I was smoking Captain Black Royal. Which, by the way, 10 years on, or 15 years on, Captain Black Royal is great. But a friend of mine, who was also into it at the time, got some Frog Morton. Frog on the Bayou. It was the first pipe tobacco that I smoked that didn't just burn the living tar out of my mouth and tasted amazing. And I was hooked. And then it got real hard to get. Couldn't order it online. Places that had it didn't have much. And there was the times, still the internet was not exactly the most trusted place to order stuff, and it wasn't exactly friendly, and there was no local shops that had any. So, time passes. I get out of pipe smoking, and that 10-ish years, 11, 12 maybe, that I was out of it. And when I came back, I immediately started off with a bunch of stuff from Boswell's. I had Boswell's Best, No Bite Delight, Northwoods. I can't even remember some of the other stuff that I had from them. And coming back to it, the Northwoods, stellar. And that brought me back around. So that was amazing. It was really good stuff. And I've been chasing flavor since with things like Star of the East and Honey Buckshot and some Samuel Galva stuff. Has to be able to be bought in bulk, though. Now, the next question is Bigfoot, ghost, UFO stuff. Now, a little pre-context here. In the area where I grew up, 7-ish miles as the crow flies from where I spent most of my weekends and summers and whatnot, is a military base, and my dad's farm is about 7 miles as the crow flies from my dad's farm. And that military base was known as Jefferson's Proving Ground. It was a place they flew in planes, they dropped bombs, they tested ordnance, and as such, you got to see a lot of what one could consider UFOs, blacked out helicopters, all the fun stuff that goes along with a military base where they're testing things. And like I said, you've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. They quote-unquote shut it down, I believe it was 1994. It's 55,000 acres of just sealed off land. They've now opened up in part of it about 2,000-3,000 acres where people can go, but the large portion of it on the north end is still closed, and they still fly planes in there. A few fighters predominantly A-10s and a few choppers, and they drop ordnance and they touch off the A-10 guns. If you've ever been anywhere near where they shoot those things, that is an amazing sound you cannot mistake. So, UFOs, seen a lot of unidentified flying objects. Don't know what they were, but they were there. Now, the story that I have that pertains to the UFOs is not exactly anything to do with that I'm aware of. So, here. There. Now I'm all crazy. So, we can go right ahead with this. So, it had been midwinter, late winter. No trees, no leaves. I slept on the second floor of my dad's place. It was an old farmhouse. And in the end, I slept at a window that overlooked the yard, roadway, creek bottom, big hill, almost vertical. And that's all I could see out that window. In the summer, it was just a wall of green because there were 2 trees that were outside my window that would flush out and we couldn't see nothing. But middle of the night, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I don't really know. I went to bed about midnight. I do know that because that was my usual going to bed time when I was down there, when I was that age. And when I was laying in bed, I woke up for some reason. Don't know if it was a noise, don't know if it was something else. But I looked out the window because I thought maybe somebody drove by or was driving by. So I looked out the window, and across from my bedroom, on top of the hill, above the hill, let me rephrase, above the hill, was this bright orb. And it just danced around. It was bright, but it didn't emit light. It didn't light up my house, didn't light up the room, didn't light up the yard, didn't light up the hilltop. It just danced around, and it was bright, but it didn't emit any light that I could see. It moved around, and it was up there, it danced and jawed and zigzagged all over the place. It went on for 4 or 5 minutes, maybe. And then it faded, got real bright, and then shot off, gone. It was the only time that anything of that nature, with unidentified flying objects, UFOs, happened. I don't know what it was. Didn't hear a sound. I even opened and cracked the window a little bit to see if I could hear anything. Didn't hear nothing. Couldn't smell nothing. And for as bright as it was, it didn't emit any light. It was weird. Now, I'm going to do a second half here for the Bigfoot. Giant military base, across the way, live in the middle of nowhere. Legitimately, the nearest neighbor was a half-mile away, and then from there, one direction, the next neighbor was about a mile away, and the other direction, the next neighbor was about 3 miles away. The land around my dad's place was basically conserved for hunting. The property across the road was owned by a Canadian. He only come down during deer season, and he only come down about once every 5 years. The property at the end of the road was owned by an old man. Nobody lived there. Nobody stayed there at that time. And the property to the north of my dad's place was actually a game preserve. Some rich guys owned several thousand acres, turned into a game preserve where they private hunting, basically. And then, anyway, so basically what I'm saying is, there's nothing around, middle of nowhere. So, great place for things to hide, including people. A lot of illicit shit happened out there. There was one neighbor who went to jail for a very long time for growing pot. And it's not because he got caught. He got paranoid and turned himself in. That was pretty funny. This guy, one of the guys that shot at me when I was younger. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, me and a buddy were hanging out, and he was having his dirt bike worked on. And his dirt bike was a 225, I think it was a 225 Kawasaki 2-stroke, or maybe a 250. Whatever it was fast. Faster than my 3-wheeler, which I rode. And we're hanging out. The guy that's working on his dirt bike calls him and says, "Hey, it's done. You can come get it." Well, it is, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock at night. It's dark. His dirt bike's 2-stroke, kickstart, no headlight. But I got 3-wheeler. We're going to break some rules, drive on county roads, go 5 miles, 6 miles, which is what we do. We load up, go up the gravel road, and get to the top of the hill. On our way out, we see there's a party going on at that little corner property that's vacant that nobody lives on or stays on. Oh, by an old man. There's a party going on there. So I swing in there. We swing in there on the way out to see who it is. And it turns out it's the son or grandson. I don't remember. But he was friends with my family. So I knew him. He's like, "Well, when you get done doing whatever you're doing, come back." All right, cool. So we take off. We go get his dirt bike and he gets it started, and then we're puttering back because he's having to write off my headlight. And it's a fairly moonlit night, so you can see out in the weeds and bushes. And we're on our way back. And there's this pull off the top of the hill before we drop in the valley where his house is, my dad's place, and this party's at. We pull off the top of the hill. He's like, "Let's smoke a cigarette." So he pulls out a pack of smokes and gives me one, and I light it up, and he's got one, and he lights it up. We're sitting there smoking cigarettes. I backed in. He's pointed nose in. And behind us over the hill, there's an old barn. And as best I can guess, it was a barn that they like kept equipment in, because it's got 3.5 walls, one big open door, no stalls, no corrals, no nothing. And it's dirt floor. So I assume originally it was for just keeping equipment in, like spreaders or something. It's not a real big barn. You could probably fit 4 pickup trucks in there if you jockeyed them in right. Roof, the ceiling, the doorway entrance was maybe 7.5, 8 feet tall. But anyway, we're sitting there and we're smoking. And here's some rustling behind us and tin rattles. And he goes, "What was that?" And I didn't miss a lick, didn't skip a beat. I was like, "It's just the wind." He goes, "There is no wind." Stop. I don't know. I do the old trick, lick the finger, stick it to the air. He's right. Wind wasn't moving at all. There was a very, very mildish breeze, but it wasn't strong enough to move the tin. It was enough to move the smoke around a little bit. About like what you see here. Well, that's about what we got. And I spin around on my seat and I look back down over the hill. I'm not saying it's Bigfoot because I don't know what this was. It could have been a professional basketball player hiding in the barn. Whoever it was, come or whatever, whoever, whatever. came out stooped over. Right outside the barn is a sapling, tree. It's not 15, 20 feet tall max. It's not very big, about that big around maybe. Whatever it is, it puts both arms on the tree and leans forward and does a stretch thing. Well, that's all I needed to see. That was all he needed to see. My three-wheeler was pull start with a ripcord. So I reach over, which it's on the left side, and I grab it, yank. I get it started. He stomps that dirt bike, and I take off like a bat out of hell. And he cuts a 180 on that dirt bike, just spinning gravel and throwing rock. I'm going down the road. He passes me like I'm sitting still on that two-stroke. Pelts me with gravel, beats me half to death. And we immediately go down to that little party. Because we got to tell somebody, right? We tell everybody at the party. Everybody's like, oh, let's go up there and see if we can see it. So we don't know what it is. Of course, there's a handful of them. You're crazy. You're making stuff up, Well, we load up in the guy's truck that's hosting the party. And it's an old Ford. He has a sheet of plywood in the bed, no tailgate. I'm on my three-wheeler. Everybody's piled in the bed of his truck that's going. And he's in the driver's seat. And he stomps it. The truck goes, the sheet of plywood, and all the people stay in place and flop on the ground. A little comedy relief there. It was funny. I laughed a lot. My buddy laughed a lot. But anyway, we drove back up there. And it looks like the pipe's dead. Or close to it. Won't stay lit. But anyway, sorry. We drive up there. Can't find nothing. We go down to where it came out. Can't see any footprints in the dirt. But it was dry. It was summer. So that's not a big surprise. The grass outside of the barn was trampled down. So, I don't know. Was it a basketball player? Was it Bigfoot? Was it just a giant troll? You got me. I'm just going to go with it was a big feller that I seen in the woods. But whatever it was there. Ghost stories, I've already done some of those. You can go back and watch those videos if you want. My favorite pipe, we'll do a favorite pipe real fast. It is a FBK. It's Meerschaum. Sister bought it for me for Christmas. It was the first pipe that anybody bought me as a gift. It's my favorite pipe. It's a Meerschaum shaped like a skull. It's cool. You can see that in some of my previous videos too. Alright. Thanks. Everybody have a great night. Remember, if you ain't having fun, you aren't doing it right.